Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Jay, your host of the Techmates Podcast. I'm here in Orlando. Derek?
Hey guys, I'm your co-host Derek here with Techmates, and I'm in Melbourne, Florida.
Cool. So we have a really great show planned for you today. We're going to talk about how to actually bring a product to market. We're also going to talk about some stories on products that we've worked on. And we're also going to talk about Kickstarter and Indiegogo and maybe, shed some light on how those platforms work and whether they may be a good fit for you. So, Derek, let's talk about, I'm a customer. I come to you and I have a product idea. I have like a smart water bottle or like a smart LED, like for this podcast, I want some light on my face and I want to have a Bluetooth controller and I want to control this light. I want an app. Like, what's the first step?
So the first step is to identify what you want to have made. What is it that's in your head that you're trying to bring to life? You need to really think about that. And I would say just put it on paper. Step one, write it down, put it on paper, and you're going to be in the process of formulating what we call a product requirements document. If you're able to create your own prototype and kind of bring it to life a little bit, how does it look? How does it feel? If you have clay, if you're able to kind of make a sculpture or hot glue, put some pieces together. If it's a little bit more technical, let's say Bluetooth, or if it happens to be Wi-Fi and you don't know how to program that, that's okay. Just write it down. What is the goal? What is the vision? What are you trying to accomplish? And ultimately, when you go to get it made, you're going to take a look at this. We are going to take a look at this product requirements document, and we're going to identify all of the items necessary and the skill set necessary and the different tools necessary to bring this product to life, Jay. So, I would say the first thing we want to do, Jay, is get that on paper, make a prototype, and then use that the best way you can to communicate with the next person who's going to be helping you with that project.
That's so funny. 4 years ago, I remember I was sitting in a coffee shop in Mountain View, California, and I was writing this document. It was like a blog, 10 rules to bring your product to market. And you just touched on the first one, and that's writing a good PRD. I think we have some templates that we can share in on the bottom when we post this podcast. Actually, I think, Raul, why don't you pull that blog up so we can show it? Maybe we can walk through it really quickly. What's the second step? So the first one was a PRD. Second was building a business model canvas. And the reason I chose a business model canvas versus a full business model is like, it takes a long time to do a proper business model. So I think let's pull up that blog let's pull up the blog on the chat. And so that little yellow thing, Derek, you want to explain it a little bit more?
I'm trying to bring it up myself.
It's not up for you?
Oh, it's up. It's just this big.
Oh yeah, it's really small. Anyway, it's just a much faster way to put together a business plan. It's like your go-to when you're talking to people, when you're trying to sell your idea. It's a great little tool. What's rule number 3?
Find a good product design company? Is that what you're referring to,
Find a good
Jay?
design company. Yes, exactly. Of course, we're a design company, so we'd love for you to pick us, but you don't have to. I'm just saying, find a good company, find someone who can really guide you, and make sure you vet them a little bit before you go let them make your product for you. Derek, what kind of questions would you ask them?
So I think it's really important as a product design company, I'm also interviewing you as the customer. I want to make sure that you are a good fit for me and that when I build your product, I'm capable and able to bring your product to life. So with us, we do product design, we do prototyping, and then we take it even a step further. We do the manufacturing portion for the customer. So when the customer comes to me, I want to know that, this guy has really thought about his project. He has some skin in the game. He's spent some time on his project. He's maybe even built a prototype. He's gone a little bit further because I'm going to be investing my time, and I'm also going to be investing our team's time to evaluate your project. We're going to be investigating. Is it possible to bring this to life? Can we put these technologies together? Is that package, you want it this big? Is it even possible? What's the battery life? So we're really investing a lot of time into a person's project So when we take them on as a customer, we're really interviewing them to make sure that they are a good fit for us and we are a good fit for them. We don't want to take on projects that are, t-shirts. We want to take on projects that fit within our scope. And sometimes, we can deviate a little bit. If it's not something that we're really strong and capable to do, but we think that we have the resources to bring those to life, then yeah, we'll still take on those projects too. But identifying the details that you want to have made through that product requirements document is really helpful for us and for our team and for our engineering team and for our manufacturing team as well, to make sure that everything lines up with what you want to have done. And setting those expectations is super important. And I think that's part of your product requirement document, identifying your budget, identifying your timeline, and making sure that it all comes together. If you have a product and you want it made in a week, is it possible to make it in a week? I don't know. If your budget is $10 billion, yeah, we could probably call everybody. But if you have a really tiny project and really, really tight deadlines and really unrealistic expectations, then bringing that product to life is challenging. So really, what is the likelihood? How risky is it? How capable is it for us to do? And, the product design company, maybe they don't do this. Maybe they do. Is it making golf balls? So you really have to make sure that you're going to be compatible with the people you're working with, and also that you like them, that they work well with you and your personality type, because sometimes there's clash in personality types, and, you're very type A dominating and they're very relaxed. You want to make sure that that's a right fit too. So I think that's really important when you're talking to product design companies, interviewing them for bringing your product to life and making sure that they can do what you want, and also they can deliver on what you are and what you're looking for. That's really important.
But, I'm thinking about working with this company for design and then another company for manufacturing. Mm-hmm. It seems like they're specialized. They just do design or they just do manufacturing. I mean, is that a good idea?
I think you have it both ways. So some companies they specialize in product design, and they might not be able to design it for manufacturing. So, in our world, we do a lot of circuit boards and we do a lot of plastic parts, a lot of metal parts, and they oftentimes go together. Sometimes a product design company, they'll design it, they'll 3D print it, they'll give you a product, and to you, the untrained eye, it looks good. It looks like, oh, this is the finished product. Sometimes they don't actually design it for manufacturing. And there's a term that we call, it's called DFM, design for manufacturing. So when you're talking to a product design company, ask them if they know how to design the product for manufacturing. I think that's really important. And as far as the manufacturing company goes, you want to make sure that they're having the capacity that they can make your 100 piece or your 1,000 piece order. Because some manufacturers, they don't take on orders under a certain minimum dollar amount or a certain minimum quantity. So making sure that those two kind of work together is really important. And making sure you get the file type that you need from the design company to give to the manufacturer is also really important too.
Mm-hmm. So the next step I picked was budget for a high quality prototype. So what would you say? Like, would you spend $10,000 or $100,000? Like, what's the difference? Why would I want to elect to spend more, or why should I budget for this?
I think coming up with your high quality prototype, it really depends on what your goals are. If you're trying to do a Kickstarter or a crowdfunding Indiegogo, or are you trying to show investors a working prototype? What is your goal? Are you trying to prove the form, fit, and function in the industry? That's really important to you, and that really matters to you on the high quality prototype. Or is it simply for pictures? If you have a really ugly prototype and you're shooting with a 4K camera, you want to make sure that prototype looks beautiful. Or perhaps they're showing it to somebody. Having a high quality prototype that fits the form and looks beautiful and works is actually really important. So coming up with money to pay for a prototype, oftentimes you get what you pay for. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to build those high quality prototypes. It's not just a 3D printer printing it and slapping it on the electronics. Although it could be, but a high quality prototype it's painted, it maybe has some plating like chrome on it, and it looks and feels like the real finished product. So budgeting for a high quality prototype and time is really important.
Mm-hmm. Have I ever shown you that Spider-Man drawing and like spending 10 minutes on it, 1 minute on it, or 10 seconds on it, and like what do you get the outcome? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think it's, 1 minute, and he gives you a drawing of a Spider-Man. And then maybe it's 5 minutes. He gives a little bit better, more defined drawing. And then you give the guy, he's a professional. You give him 10 minutes or 30 minutes to draw something, and it's just amazing. I think the
Hmm.
same thing, what you're referring to, really applies here in the product design and bringing a product to life. That is really important as well.
Nice. Okay, so the next step would be to go, to get your brand in place, to get your website in place. Nowadays, you can easily get freelancers online to help you, come up with logos, come up with websites. You definitely want some presence there. You definitely want some social media presence. Otherwise, when people find you, they're gonna, immediately look at your social media first, Instagram, Facebook, and see, that you're just starting out. So you definitely want to spend some money there, get that going. I think that's pretty obvious. Derek, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, as a product design company, we do a lot of research to see who you are as a customer. And by simply having a website or at minimum a Facebook page showing you and your product, I think that shows that you have some skin in the game. And this is not just an idea that you have off the street, but it's actually something that you've put forth your time and your effort to kind of bring to life. So I think I agree with Jay. That's really important.
Hmm. Finally, well, not so much finally, there's still quite a few more steps, but getting some pre-orders going, I mean, getting some validation that this thing that you're working on is a good idea. And I think that goes back to your prototype too. Like if you did a good prototype or you have a good prototype, you can make some videos, you can take some good pictures, you can show people using it. That's going to help you get some pre-orders and give you some validation that, you're on the right track, and getting that early feedback on your prototype so you can iterate and make it better instead of just going down the path that you think is right. I think that's pretty valuable. So get that prototype started, get that website going, get some prototype orders, and make sure you put on the bottom that you don't, you're not going to ship this anytime soon, and maybe it'll be 12 months. But a lot of people will be very happy to back you early if they really like your project. We've seen a lot of customers come in with pre-orders already. Yeah, I can't even think of how many projects that had, pre-orders before they came to us and wanted to get a better prototype.
I have
Derek.
one thing to interject here, and pre-orders is not limited to these crowdfunding campaigns. They could also be going to a trade show. If you can take your high quality prototype to a trade show, guys, that is where buyers are. There's a little secret. Buyers of these big stores, these big places, they go to trade shows. So I would really encourage you, if you haven't already, look at your industry, identify the trade show, plan properly. Make sure you're not planning too close and too aggressive. Make sure you allow yourself enough time, several months, to design it, build a prototype, fine tune, go back, redesign it, re-prototype, and then prepare to go to that trade show. That's really important to get pre-orders too.
Mm-hmm. What trade show?
Oh my gosh, there are trade shows. Every I guess.
Well, the one that comes to my mind, the big one, right?
Yeah. So if you go to CES in Las Vegas, I mean, that's for consumer electronics. But if you're into, ammunition and weapons, there's the SHOT Show in Las Vegas. If you're into, whatever you're into, Orlando Convention Center has a lot of different conventions. Las Vegas has a lot of different conventions for everything. So look up, are you in the boating and fishing show? Well, you might be going to Miami, or you might be going to Orlando. Or perhaps if you're in the trade industry of toys, then you're going to probably be going to New York City because they have a huge toy show there at that trade show. So identifying those trade shows is really important. First of all, walk through it. It's very, very affordable to walk through it. And then if you're going to be setting up a booth, you should probably budget around $5,000 to $10,000 to set up a booth to see if you can get pre-orders. And if you can't get pre-orders at that point, you might want to go back and rethink your plan before you've actually fully and finally made your product.
Cool. So we have a PRD, we've got a nice plan, we have a prototype, we're getting some pre-orders now on our website. What's next? What do we do?
You can do a crowdfunding campaign, Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I think we'll talk about that a lot more later, but I think my one takeaway is talking about crowdfunding is you put it on there and it doesn't turn to gold. it takes a lot of preparation ahead of time and a lot of marketing ahead of time too. So I think that's a huge takeaway that a lot of people really miss. They think, oh, I've got a product and I'll put it on there, it turns to gold and that's it. No, it starts before you even get to that campaign.
So we're halfway through the 10 rules, right? And so the balance of that is basically Kickstarter, Indiegogo. So I think it's a good time to segue down into talking deep, more about those things and maybe sharing some stories of maybe some different products that we worked on and how they were successful, or bring up some of those campaigns and just show them live here. So Indiegogo and Kickstarter, what do you think? Which one? It's a big debate. Which one do you prefer?
I can tell you that we've been the backbone to, I think, 30 plus Kickstarters and maybe 4 or 5 Indiegogos. But each of those platforms, they have kind of a pro and a con. The Indiegogo, you can request to have any and all funds that you've earned get directed to you. Whereas on a Kickstarter platform, you have to earn your goal, then you'll be able to get the funds. But you have to really research each one and evaluate which one works for you. And I think that there's a strategy that you can start on one, and then after you've successfully done that, then you can jump over to the other one. I don't know which direction. I think you start on Kickstarter, then you can go to Indiegogo and earn additional money, but I don't think you can start on Indiegogo and jump over to Kickstarter. But it's been a long time since I've actually looked into that.
Yeah, that's true. And I've seen a lot of projects where they do them on both as well. But yeah, you're right. I think they do all start on Kickstarter, they raise money there, and then they go to Indiegogo and continue their campaign. I think they can have a shop on there as well, so they can continue to sell after their campaign. But yeah, I don't think I have a preference. I think they both are great, and I think they both work well. Obviously, putting your product on there is not going to immediately turn to gold, and so those are some of the final rules in the article. One of them is to have a party about your product, right? So throw a party, and before or off the day of launch, you throw a party, you invite all your friends, family, whoever you know in the community, get them there, put your campaign on live on TV right as you press go, and hopefully set a computer there so that they're backing you right away. And we've actually been to those parties. I remember we got invited to a party in Miami where he invited us to this place where he was launching his product, and that's exactly what he did. And he was like, within the first few hours, he'd already gotten quite a significant amount of funding, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it wasn't that launch party. It was his research. It was his reaching out to people ahead of that once you launched, it was helpful to kind of push you over the edge. And within that first several hours, really achieve your goal. That would be the nirvana, right?
Mm-hmm. So the second last rule I had was to make sure you have a budget to spend on ads. You definitely want to be advertising nowadays so that people can find your product. If you just put it on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, they're not going to find you. So make sure you're put some ads on Instagram, put some ads on Facebook, and hopefully, you'll find some success there. And the last one I had was to make sure, after you have a successful campaign and you have manufactured your product, that you have a good fulfillment team on your side. Derek, you want to talk about fulfillment a little bit?
Yeah, I think going from that campaign where you've finalized to delivery, we've kind of jumped to the fulfillment, and we've kind of skipped the in-between step where when you're making a hardware product, you can expect delays, and they come from everywhere. So from that campaign, those backers for your project, they're going to be very anxious and very eager to get their product. And be aware that, you have a timeline, you've set that up, but there might become some times where that gets challenged and delayed. So be aware of that because there's nothing worse than having angry backers. And then finally, when you do get to that fulfillment day, you might want to look at companies. There are a lot of companies that do fulfillment for you. They charge a very small fee. They can basically print the labels, put it in the package, do the assembly, and ship it out for you. And that is actually really nice, depending on the quantity of those packages that you have to ship out. Otherwise, you can do it yourself, but then you're going to be responding to people. You're going to be building out the product. You're going to be working on your marketing. You're going to be, following up. You're going in so many different directions. It's really challenging. So if you can do a fulfillment company and you can afford that and you put it into your budget, I think that would be very wise.
Cool. So I know we've done, quite a few campaigns with customers, without customers. I remember our first one was Exopad. That was like right out of college. We helped launch Hero. That was another product. That one was actually successful. We've done a lot of projects alongside customers like 3D printers, air quality sensors. We've done the dog toy Swiftpaw. Hopefully we can bring her on this podcast at some point. So we've done a lot of projects. We've also interviewed a lot of people, right? So we interviewed Nanoleaf, out of which we wrote a really cool Kickstarter guide, which I think we can link in the description. And we learned a lot. So we learned a few more tips and tricks about Kickstarter Indiegogo. One of them is timelines. What kind of timelines should you share with your backers?
That's a good question. I think it depends on your project and how far you've actually come along with building the product and bringing it to life. I have seen some customers that basically they've already brought their project to life, and they're more or less doing the assembly, and then they're trying to get the word out for the marketing. Whereas I've seen other customers, they have the idea and they launch with an idea and not even having a prototype, and then they're really far out. So several projects, it takes months to bring a product to life. You can go quick, and I would say the more money you have, the faster you can go. But if you don't have a whole lot of money, you need to really plan ahead. But either way, you need to plan ahead, and several months, maybe 60 days is reasonable, but it really depends on what your ask is and what your expectations are.
Cool. The next thing I would say is communication. So giving your backers updates as frequently as possible. Share pictures with them, share good news, share bad news, share everything. Definitely be open with them. Otherwise, you will have some really angry backers. We've seen a lot of angry backers, and that's just part of it's part of manufacturing. Things get delayed, people get angry. Just make sure you update them, and you should have some really good, happy people.
Plan ahead. If you can plan ahead, I'm telling you, plan ahead, because you're going to save yourself stress, and you're going to save everybody else that you're working with that same stress. So plan ahead.
I remember the first few projects that I ever heard on Kickstarter. I think Pebble was one of them. Which ones do you remember?
There was a cooler. Was it Super Cooler?
I think it was Coolest Cooler, maybe.
Coolest Cooler, remember. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun just to maybe pull up Pebble, the Kickstarter. Raul, what do you think? Can you pull that up for us, and we could just kind of scroll through it and see, what a good campaign looks like? Obviously, they raised like $10 million or something on the first. But you guys
should also know that when you look up Eric, he didn't just fall into creating a Kickstarter. I actually researched him. This has probably been like 10 years now, but I researched him, and he was already a successful entrepreneur. He had already met other investors. He knew he was already rubbing elbows with the right people. So when he did his Kickstarter, you'll see that he raised a lot of money, but it wasn't by luck, you guys. This was by planning. And he was ahead of the curve. He was ahead of everybody at this time. But it wasn't by luck. It was by a lot of hard work and a lot of planning.
Mm-hmm. And I think you met him, right? At CES? Yeah. I think both of us met him. We met him
at CES, and then also again at the Y Combinator in Silicon Valley.
That's right. That's right. When we were pitching our software ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what a good campaign looks like. I think this is the second one. This is the follow-on to the first Pebble. There was a Pebble original. Raul, you have the wrong one. Which is okay. We'll just edit this part out. Yeah, I just wanted to show them what Pebble campaign looked like. I think their campaign was set up really well.
There it is, Pebble Smartwatch.
Yeah, so I remember this project. It was really cool. I think it was a huge inspiration for a lot of people when they saw how much money they raised. The power of Kickstarter. They literally launched a brand new industry, right? Weren't they the first smartwatch?
I don't know if they were the first smartwatch, but I think they were the first smartwatch on Kickstarter. And I think
okay.
they really inspired people like you and me in the garage and in the house to create and come up with ideas. And around that same time, don't forget, the patent for 3D printers was just expiring. And so a lot of people were then getting 3D printers around this time. And I think that whole revolution of maker movement really started.
Cool. So I think that's a good little background on crowdfunding and Kickstarter, Indiegogo. In conclusion, I think it's a great platform for you if you've never raised any money for your product, you have a new idea, you have a prototype. I think crowdfunding is definitely the way to go. It's definitely not for everybody, but as long as you know how to navigate it, I think you can definitely do well. So yeah, that'll conclude our show today. Today we went over how to bring a product to life, and we talked about crowdfunding. I think my biggest takeaway is I don't really have a takeaway. Derek, do you have a takeaway?
I do. And you've heard me say it several times today, and that is planning. So anytime you can plan ahead, I think you're going to save yourself some stress, you're going to save yourself some money, and you're going to be better at the end of the day. So don't forget to plan.
Nice. Definitely check out that article. If you like Techmates, if you like what we're trying to do here, definitely like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up and leave some comments. Let us know if there's some topics you want us to talk about. We have a lot of topics planned, but if there's something in particular, if we see someone really wants us to talk about something, we can kind of put that in the front. But yeah, we plan to do this every week. Derek, any closing remarks?
Yeah, definitely. So Jay's asking for some feedback. So if you want to talk about China, if you want to talk about Vietnam, if you want to talk about manufacturing, if you want to talk about product design, if you want to talk about how to plan, if you want to talk about any of these things, let us know, because we have experience in all of them.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will work on the next one. See you later.
Thank you. Have a good day.